In this episode, we are full on spoilers for both the books and the show.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Max.
And I'm the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation, your YouTube channel that reviews adaptations from one form to another. This week, we're continuing on our journey in the Expanse Season 3, Episode 3, Assured Destruction. Max, what can you tell us about this episode?
Oh, the Amazon goes boom.
Yeah.
That happened.
That happens. That is a thing that happened, unfortunately.
Due to repairs.
A certain guy kind of helps another guy go to sleep here. Kind of goes night-night. Yeah. Just a little helps him go to bed.
Yeah, that's it. That's what happened.
R.I.P. Theo.
Oh, no, he was helping him go to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, some other stuff happens. Politics.
That's it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Someone
All right,
took a
guys.
nap.
Just a
Yeah.
few other
Thanks for
things.
watching. We'll see you next week.
Exactly. And no, save the rainforest.
Mhm.
And save the rainforest, yeah.
Yeah.
Not going to be much one left after that.
No.
So who wrote and directed for us?
Same as last week, I believe. It's
Probably.
Oh, actually, sorry, Thor. Roger Fun. I can't pronounce his last name. Sorry. Same writer is basically all season.
It's just different director.
Yeah. Thor Frodenthal.
That sounds right. Maybe. I'd have to look at how it's spelled.
Yeah.
So what did everybody think of this
Butcher his name.
particular episode?
Jen is like,
It sets the stage for later ones, that's for sure.
There's a couple things I
Yeah.
didn't like, but I'll get into them. But it was overall overwhelmingly positive. So yeah, not positive. Okay, hold on. Let me rephrase. It was overwhelmingly a good episode. Not a like yay happy times. Yeah.
no,
what-
bad stuff happens. For sure.
A lot of bad.
What?
Really
Lot of
bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Come on, Theo
It's
just
a
took
good
nap.
episode, though.
Mhm.
This
Yeah,
show
it's-
doesn't really have a. This show doesn't have a bad episode until next season. Then it's the whole season. But
I did. Yeah, well, okay.
Theo took a nap. The Amazon's fine. The
So-
kid in
so-
the experiments is fine.
you're
Everything's
saying-
fine.
It was very
Yeah.
boring and nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Nothing happened. Everybody's fine.
I didn't say that. So where you guys want to start, Max? What's our first question?
Our first question is what was changed from the source material and those things impact your enjoyment for this season? For this episode.
Okay.
Jen?
Yeah.
Spotlight Jen.
Go ahead,
Stare
Jen.
at her awkwardly here.
No. I like there was so much like everything that is happening pretty much with Avasarala like getting to meet Holden at this point, like everything going on with the Rossi. I mean, in the books they were already at Tycho Station, I believe right at this time, and they came back or something, and that's not being done before they go to IO. Like everything is just
Yeah, they did cut out the Tycho Station bit entirely at this point. Yeah.
so I like how it's going though so far. The only thing that I don't know if it's so much different from the books, but I was really, really hoping in the show at least they would have even more of a major difference when there was like some crazy thing happening with Holden and Avasarala meeting, because this was supposed to be the episode in which that happened for the very first time in the show anyway. And I was like, are they going to do something really crazy different for the show? And they actually like really truly didn't. But like I was actually wanting it to be more opposite. Like I wanted like some crazy thing to happen. I don't know what, but it was
Right.
just kind of like normal. It was very low key. It was very low key, their meeting. So I was like, dang, I was actually hoping to have like a huge difference for some reason with that, and there wasn't that much. So yeah, I think I like the enjoyment of like the nuke. Like of that being in the show, but like I don't know where that's gonna kind of go from there, because most of the fighting that was done between Mars and Earth and everything was happening like in space, like they were like firing
Right.
shots at each
And
other in
Jupiter.
the books. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was kind of going on off world, you know. Having that in the show not being the case is a little bit different, but I'm kind of, because I'm doing one episode as we go each week, I'm very interested to see how that's going to pan out differently, if anything goes different. So we'll see. Right now I'm just kind of in the waiting mode, because with the big boom that got dropped at the end of this episode, I'm like, what's going to happen now? So I'm just kind of with bated breath. That's kind of what which is good. You want that as you go from each episode to episode, so you're watching the next week anyway.
How about you, Mitch?
And following up on the meeting for the first time between Avasarala and Holden, it may be a little underwhelming, but it builds.
Mhm.
And I like the fact that they've done that. It doesn't come out. In fact, I think it isn't. There's like 3 or 4 scenes before Avasarala even mentions. Is it in this episode that she met his mother?
Yeah,
She does, but
it's
it's
in
later.
this one.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
the first meeting, not the first scene where she talks to him. It's later. Yeah,
Right.
but this
Right.
episode.
So there's a build there, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Of course, one of the big changes from the books to this is that Avasarala had taken control of Mao's ship, and she actually contacted Holden about meeting up, as opposed to escaping from a situation and then being picked up. So, we do have a big difference there. And actually, I think the way they did it in the show is far superior. As far as plot line goes, it keeps the energy up, and there's a number of things. Even why they're going to Io in the book, it's actually
Prax
who figures it out, not with the simultaneous spooky things at great distances that Einstein was always scared of.
Right.
So the changes, there are obviously differences going on, but I think the changes are for the positive going into the series.
For the most part, I agree. There's just the one I didn't like in this episode is the hostility that starts almost right off the bat when with Bobby and the rest of the crew. It just didn't, because the turnaround later in this very same episode didn't feel as earned, because we saw nothing really of Bobby interacting after that, beyond sitting there with Avasarala was being shown how to walk in the boots. The picture I had up here earlier. That was about the only other time. And at this point, she's all like, she's back there giggling and smiling and laughing and having fun throughout this whole scene, pretty much. And I'm just like, it doesn't feel that shift in attitude doesn't feel that earned. I would have liked to have seen something like, hey, sorry about earlier, misunderstanding, Temper's got, something, but because that's just not the relationship she has with these people.
It's like they were going for something with her being like angry about, this being a Martian ship, but it did seem, a bit much. That I will agree on that. Like, she knew probably already about this, history of this ship. It's probably well known, but I think I can agree on the Bobby part, but the other things, I think sometimes like there was more hostility between like Holden and Avasarala at first too. And there I kind of think that it served a purpose, like, that they have to come to make a decision, right? There's decisions that need to be made about what to do now that they have Avasarala and Bobby on board, and there's like, different agendas. How do we get to what we want? And I think that in order for the decisions not to be like foregone conclusions, that we see, they're coming from different places, they might want slightly different things, but they need to kind of play that out. Like, let us see the process of coming to the decision. So some of it I think makes sense, but the Bobby part maybe was a bit much.
Well,
I didn't mind that.
Yeah, I was going to say on the Bobby, her change from when she first walks on with her gear, and she's happy and she's looking around. It's a Martian ship,
and then
sees the flag, and then boom, 180. Yeah. I love that bit.
You like it? Okay. Yeah.
See, I didn't kind of mind it because I'm like, when she made a statement like she could just take the ship if she wanted to.
Yes, she did.
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like who's gonna stop her?
But you wouldn't want to try. That's for sure.
Well, Amos did have that big wrench.
Yeah.
Yes, and she was eyeing that wrench too.
Amos would give it a go. I mean, I know
he would.
I'm not going to comment on whether Amos could take her or not, because I feel like that's like later book spoilers we don't need to get into. But
I would say at this point in time, he would have a chance, not a great chance, maybe not even a good chance, but he would have a chance to take her.
He'd give it a go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring in some other changes too, but I don't know if we had more to say on like the Rossi stuff.
Go ahead, Max. Anybody? Go ahead.
Not for Rossi.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, for the Rossi, the only other thing I'll mention with the Rossi crew too is just that like they're giving us more between Prax and Amos. Like we get some extra kind of like scenes between them, which I love personally. Like I'm a big fan of that friendship, and I really love to see it. So I always enjoy that.
Speaking of friendship, I have a nice picture here. That was one of my scenes I picked out there.
It's a good scene. I always like scenes with them. Yeah. So the other stuff that we're just kind of like getting a lot more of in this episode. I mean, obviously there's lots more of stuff that we're seeing from the UN. We're seeing more from like Strickland and May, Cotillard, like all of these things that we're kind of getting a lot more of, I feel is kind of like, there's sort of a dual purpose with all of that. Like we're getting perspectives that we can't get in the books. Like I've mentioned that before, right? We don't have some of these as POV characters in the book. So we're getting different perspectives. In some cases, I think it really like raises tension, right? Like I think seeing more of what's happening with May in particular, like there's increased tension there. Like we have like a certain amount of urgency of kind of knowing like what's happening with her, what might be about to happen. And then the other thing that I think they're really conscious of in making some of these decisions of what to show is this season, like the first 5 episodes basically is the end of book 2. And then the last 8 episodes is book 3. So combining parts of 2 different books into one season, you have characters who don't appear until the 3rd book that we're bringing forward. And they did this in season 2 as well, where they Bobby, we start seeing Bobby's story pick up earlier than it does, just so we can kind of get familiar with her before we get to that part of the book. And
even in season 1, you had like a Christian who was,
totally.
like right in the very beginning. Yeah.
Absolutely. So they do that, which I think is smart. Like we're getting Anna, earlier on. Obviously, like she started in episode 2, but like she's not in that. That's a whole new plot they've added for her. Just so that we can start to get familiar with her character. And then they've also brought in the Agatha King and Souther as like characters that are going to be important in the back half of the season. And it's like, so all this stuff that they're choosing to show us, that's at least part of the purpose of it, is bringing in those characters before it's just not like dropped on us in the middle of the season.
I like how they use Anna on here, and it works for me. Introducing her this early, in part because she's one of my, one of my favorite characters in book 3, and probably my favorite character in season 3. Not main cast character. In the books.
Leah saying Souther in the books in a different way early. True, right? Like so, it's not like we have never heard of him before, but like he's getting more focus, because again, going to kind of bring in the Agatha King.
Yeah.
And also just like the different UN factions, like they're playing that out a lot more. So
all these changes work.
I'd say obviously the biggest change would be the nuke.
Yeah.
That's big,
and I'm like sitting
that
here
whole sequence
watching the episode, like, when the hell did this happen in the book? So I go back and like,
nope.
I forgot it happened in the show. Like there were certain things in this episode in particular where I'm like, I just didn't remember that this happened in the show at all. Like like when Cotillard was saying goodnight to his friend Theo, I was like, oh yeah, forgot about that.
And
so I'll just say, thankfully, the wiki exists, and it looks like it's pretty accurate on separating book only things and TV show only things.
Yes,
and it mentions that
they
like
have
Nuke is
articles.
a TV only event. I'm like, okay, I'm not. It feels like I'm being gaslit here. On like, okay, this is only in the TV. I'm not insane.
I didn't. I want to clarify, like, when I went first, like I said, I'm waiting on bated breath because I don't know whether I like it or not. Like, it could turn out to be a really cool thing because, again, you guys have seen past this point. I have not. So I don't know if it turns out to be a really good thing later or if the nuke is just, like, trying to ramp up something and then it's never mentioned again. Hopefully it is. I don't know, but I'm going to wait because it literally happened at the very end of the episode. And I was like, where are they going with this? So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that, so I mean, we'll can talk about that when we get there too. But I mean, I will say, and when we talk about like themes in the episode, it definitely ties in there for me, like at least in this episode. Like I get why it's in this episode.
Right. Okay.
Move on. You got more, anybody?
I'm good.
Not really.
The next one, Max. Let's move on then.
All right. Well, our second question tonight is our favorite scenes or dialogues from the episode.
Well, what was gonna be my favorite scene until about an hour ago, literally just a little bit more than an hour ago, was originally the first scene with Holden and Avasarala, just because the two of them there together, and I really liked it. But when I was rewatching it a little while ago, I realized my favorite scene of the entire episode is Naomi and Alex in the galley.
That's a good one.
That talking about family and each other and understanding why you did it and understanding why you're thinking of going to Tycho. And I'm just like, because as the two moms in the galley, basically, they are the two moms because, that's just the role they both play in one way or another. Alex is so nurturing at times. It's just it's why he's my favorite character. I just wish he wasn't played by an asshole.
But it's so interesting that you're saying that about Alex because I mean I see what you mean as far as him taking a nurturing role in the crew, which he does. Yeah. But it's fascinating as a character because they've added this bit about him having a child that he knows about that he left behind, right? That's actually, we didn't really talk about that. We've mentioned it before, but like they added another little scene in this episode to just kind of continue that. And and he's basically like, this is a previous episode where he's basically like, I have stuff that's more important to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like he has to be out doing this other stuff. Yeah. And he just can't be like home with a wife and a child. So it's just sort of fascinating, right? Like he has certain maybe aspects of his personality where he could be a parent, but he can't in that sense. It's just a very weird kind of dichotomy of the character.
I mean, I'm still convinced in my head that when they were back at Tycho Station, beginning of season 2, or whatever it was in season 2, helping the refugees from Ganymede, I'm convinced in my head that the idea to go down as a crew to help was Alex's, because it seems like the kind of thing Alex would do. Alex was the one who was trying to rope Amos in to help later on in that episode. Alex is trying to take care of people outside of the ship too. It's just not his wife, or in the books, the son he doesn't know exists.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in the books, I'm just saying it's different. Like you don't have quite that same dichotomy because as far as he's concerned, he's not a parent, right? He doesn't ever aware that he's ever had a child.
Yeah. And I'm not saying he's without flaw. He's got flaws, leaving, in the show even, especially.
Yeah.
Leia says, and him being a parent in the show at this point is different than his status in the books. Divorce, no kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Anyway.
It adds some more drama, but this is a case of drama that doesn't bother me.
What? Sci-fi adds drama?
I want to add something that I really loved about that. I've been waiting until tonight to say it. For two things, a couple things. Now we're on Alex. You guys gave me the segue. I didn't know you were going to go this way. Something I found out I didn't even realize until I started reading the books. In the books, they really don't get to describe the characters until Caliban's wars, when they first started describing the characters you've heard about. They described Miller to a T with the hat and everything, and they just So they said that Alex, I think the quote, and I even tweeted it, I think, on my Twitter or something, about the fact that he had really dark skin, and when Holden, being from Earth, was when he expected to talk, he looked like an Eastern Indian man, so he was expecting to see hear a Punjabi accent, but he didn't, because they explained how they in the book it says how the Mariner Valley was originally settled by people of the American West, the Chinese, and the Eastern Indians. So he has American West, even though he's a Martian, right? And Eastern Indian descent. So that's the reason why he was listening to country music when he was spinning around and waiting for them, is because of that Western background, even though he's from Mars. And the reason why he's it's not my first rodeo, chief. And even though he doesn't have the Southern drawl, because that's been taken out being at Mars.
It varies.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
No,
when he's under stress, when he's emotional, it comes out strong.
He has
even on the show
euphemisms. He has the Southern chief and rodeo and howdy and stuff like that. He says it, but he doesn't say it in quite the right Southern accent. I know a little bit what I'm talking about here.
I will say in the books they do comment on how his accent his Mariner Valley accent is stronger at certain times than others. They specifically call it out several times in the books oh, that accent's real strong all of a sudden, and then it kind of fades. So it does kind of come in and out.
And Jefferson Mays brings it in and out too.
So the casting is superb. The casting, I didn't even realize this until I started reading the books. I'm that makes so much sense now. Now I understand it.
The actor that plays Alex, he does not get named, or unless he's with other characters, get shown on our screen, because he was a bad boy and had to have his hand slapped.
He's actually
really bad. He was bad. He's an asshole.
The actor.
That's why I was saying I hate that he's played by an asshole, because he's my favorite character on the show. And
I need somebody to DM me later about.
I will.
Yeah.
Legitimately, what?
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
I'll send you the tea.
Thank you. Please.
But he's he who shall not be named.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be quiet on that.
But we talk plenty about Alex, of course, though, because we still love Alex, but the actor can.
My bad.
Be forgotten.
I didn't know. Okay.
Sorry. I didn't know it for a long time either. I forget when I heard about it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, where are we at? Oh, favorite scenes, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I think we've only heard one favorite scene. So we got to bring some more.
It took 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll bring in mine. So mine was the mag boots scene with Avasarala and Amos and Bobby, because I just love those three as a combo, and it was just hilarious. And I don't know, it made me laugh in an episode where everything is terrible. That was a funny scene, so I love it. Yes.
That was one of mine as well.
Yeah,
especially that look on her face. She's just processing it. You can see her imagining.
Watch this.
It's kind of cool
and just pay attention to Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah.
I could just see how I saw a process in her head, him wearing those pumps, and that's that look on her face.
She's picturing it. She's going full imagination, and I mean,
And then that's where that little grin's coming in.
You should see Bobby practically bending over, laughing in the background, in another shot moments later, as she does the exact same thing.
Well, look at her side-eyeing him right there.
But I actually also just like
she's kind of looking towards his butt and his feet.
I mean, if he was wearing pumps, it would just like show off his butt more.
Exactly. So. That's exactly what she's looking at.
Oh, goodness.
I'm wondering how much bruising she got from all the bling on that dress when they were going high G. When she had to take all her necklaces and earrings out, and she still had that across her waist.
I thought she changed. Maybe not though. I thought this was a different outfit, but maybe not.
Where would she have gotten another outfit?
I guess not. Maybe she didn't bring another outfit. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I figure that's what she had on. It has to be, but
she actually has a bag of holding, and she keeps a bunch of outfits in there.
Matt Stagger or Matt the Horn of Illyria's in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually,
Mitch, did you have?
She has 15 changes of clothes that all fits into it.
Just the bare minimum. That's
okay.
All.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene, Mitch?
Well, it's not so much a scene as a group of interactions, and that's between Kotyar, Souther, and Wynn. They're establishing a really great. I can't say a trio here, but they're setting up a really nice confrontation. Courtyard just being, I need my beauty sleep, and all that's just precious. But we have things coming that I think this was a brilliant intro to. Even starting with just Souther in the lift, and power is still kind of glitchy before we have any idea that anything is really going on. So
right,
I really Souther is one of my favorite side characters, and he's starting to shine at this point more so than he did early on when he was down on Earth. Yeah.
So Leah agrees with me, by the way. The comment was up there for a second. I just said it like that. Avasarala looks like she's wearing a different outfit than when she arrived on the Rossi. I have to go back and double check, but I mean, hey, Leah agrees with me, so
okay.
I'm just saying.
She would know. I'll trust her on that.
Yeah.
I'll trust her on that.
I talked about Alex a lot, but really quickly, I'll put in my favorite scene. Sorry, after you go, Glenn. I apologize. I don't want to take too much more time. Sorry.
Go.
So I agree, first of all, with Souther. I really liked him when he was meeting with Avasarala in season 1, and he told her to fuck off and that she was a bitch and everything. That was great. But that was really wonderful. I like that. But probably my favorite, other than because everyone's saying the boots or the mag boots scene with Amos, I also really, really like that. But other than that, I will probably say I have not been liking Naomi's choices and personality so far this season. But when she sat down with Avasarala, she's the only person that called her out. She goes, I know what you're there for. You just want a proto-molecule sample for Earth. And the way that Christian just laughed, and she goes, we're not going to be friends. That whole scene, I actually really, really, really liked. If I couldn't also say Alex talking with Naomi in the same room, by the way, two really good scenes in that same exact room. So that's why I named myself the Rossi barista, because I could just imagine myself if I was like making drinks and just overhearing
you would
both of those.
It'd be the place to be.
Just with the four of them.
I would be like,
just the four of them, you would be all day busy.
I would be like, that would be so much fun. Anyway, I'm implementing myself in the crew as just the barista and the person that they would come to for. Anyway, that's my favorite scenes. I'll be quiet.
But I like that too, because anytime someone goes toe to toe with Avasarala, yes, it's a good scene. We gotta love it.
What for you, Mitch?
He said the.
Which one did you
we only have Max.
Max. My mistake. That's right.
Aside from the one that Rebecca mentioned, this other one here, where he's asking about have you done this before? Not on another person. Was one of my scenes I would go with.
I'm with you. The scene is wonderful. I love these two always.
I I love the fact that Amos, when he thought about it, actually already knew that Frankenstein was the doctor and the monster didn't have a name.
Yeah.
Because, when I first watched this scene, I expected him to go, no shit, really?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like as if he didn't know, but his reaction was like he had forgotten, hadn't thought it through.
And his justification for working on the thing is so he doesn't get nasty scar when he sees May.
Yep.
Yeah. And the
he's
whole
gonna have a
bit
nasty scar.
Yeah,
he is. But the whole bit about Prax asking him like why do you think May's still alive? And he's like related. He relates to May like Amos does, and then also just like him, Prax asking him how he got out of Baltimore. I died. Just everything. Every time Baltimore is referenced, we're just getting so much so much of a feel for it, even though we're not getting into like all the details of it, but we get a real feel for it.
And another thing about Prax and May, in the books themselves, Prax thinks she's dead. He has convinced himself that she is gone. Here, he's holding out hope.
He's like straddling, kind of.
Yeah. But in that particular scene, it's always nice to see, some guy with, guns like Amos has doing very delicate work. I always love seeing things like that. You've got that good contrast of big He-Man, delicate work.
Maybe.
All right.
What's next?
All right. Question 3 is, how did the quality of the cinematography, special effects, sound, or music affect this episode of Expanse?
Before we jump into this week, I have to say mea culpa. I believe it was last week I complained that we didn't get to see a painted mural on the side of the Gwen Chien. I was watching episode 2 earlier this week with my dad, and yes, it is there. It's just not on the side Bobby climbed up. So I was wrong, and I wanted to apologize. Sorry about that.
We'll let it go this
I'm wrong. I admit when I'm wrong. I really like everything. Everything just looks great. The music is the one thing that didn't really jump out at me, but then I don't notice the music most of the time on this show, unless it's diegetic or that opening credits music, and then I'll, notice it, because my brain's programmed not to pay attention to the music when I'm watching TV, that the music's just there as an added element to give the mood.
It depends on the show. For me, I think some shows I notice it a lot more, and others it tends to be unobtrusive.
Yeah, I think it either has to stand out to be great, or it's either stand out to be horrible and distracting.
Yeah.
I'd put it that way. I'd put it Max. I'd agree with Max on that.
Okay. And actually, the purpose of the music and just any background isn't to be obtrusive.
Right.
You want to set. You're basically setting the palette that the action is playing in front of.
Yeah.
And there are times you want to be out in front, and obviously, most of the time you don't want it out in front. But there are times you do.
Yeah. Like all along the Watchtower in Battlestar Galactica, you want that in their face, because that's a character. And Battlestar Galactica is a separate thing because music's its own character on that show, really.
Yeah, and when you have themes for particular people, like Darth Vader's theme and such. It's you want it to be obvious and characteristic of what it is you're seeing. But once again, other than the initial, few notes, it tends to fall back behind because now you're paying attention to what's going on the screen.
Right.
I didn't really have a lot on this one. I think everything looks good, but I didn't have any particular scenes or whatever that I would comment on.
If anything, I had one minor complaint on the graphics when they were shooting those, whatever you want to call them. Not sure what they were shooting at those missiles.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looked like a shotgun blast.
Yeah.
But when it hit the device,
It's a kinetic strike.
When it exploded, it came off in these very neat square pieces, and it kind of felt cheap to me. I put up a picture up here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It didn't bother me. And the way I saw that missile work, it was a lot like how anti-aircraft flak guns work. You know, you try to put up a bunch of shrapnel,
I didn't mind how
like
I said, I didn't mind how it shot it. It's more how it exploded that kind of looked cheap to me.
Make these bigger.
Yeah. Because
okay, I can see some really straight edges here. I see what you mean.
Yeah. So the shotgun blast that hit it, I didn't mind. That looked fantastic. The exploding outwards and these very straight panels came off kind of cheap looking to me.
Here's where Chris comes in and he gets all frustrated, and I'm like, but you like Star Wars, so you don't need to say anything. But anyway, he hates explosions in space. He hates it. He hates it. He hates it. He hates it. He's like, there is no oxygen, people. There would be no fire. Like, like he's like, there's. I said, but you like Star Wars and this huge fire explosion with the Death Star. He goes, yeah, you just ignore that. And I'm like,
and there's
right.
There is no fire in this.
Yeah,
it's all like oxygen and whatever.
Yeah, it's just like the inside of the ship venting out, you know.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just weird how there's all these straight edges with all this shotgun blasting out. It just kind of seems weird to me.
I mean, so I'll just say I have zero idea whether straight edges would be a thing in this case or not, since we don't really know the materials or anything. But I mean, I get your point is mainly just about what the look is, not about whether it's practical or not, but just how it looks. So yeah, I mean, fair. I didn't particularly notice it, but I hear what you're saying.
It just came off as kind of low quality on the budget side.
Yeah. I mean, they had to do how many of these in one episode? So,
exactly.
You know, there's that.
And how many frames does it actually take up? You know?
I don't know.
Well, to me, it's one of those questions of you have a series. It's how many episodes?
13 in this season.
Yeah, and they have to spread this budget out. Across 30 episodes.
Sure. Well,
and then they have to push that CG budget, and they probably have a big scene they're looking forward to.
Yeah,
they want to pump their CG budget into.
Oh yeah.
So they're lowering their render quality on these earlier battles, so they can pump their CG budget into this big scene that they want people to see.
I could easily see that because these quick shots are they're not like money shots. It's just like we need to establish that this is happening, you know.
Well, and also I'm curious. This was the final season on Sci-Fi Network. When they were doing this, did they know it was the final season at that time?
It's a good possibility.
I mean, I don't know. Probably not, but who knows? But Leah is kind of saying again that the geometric look of it is, you know, could very well be accurate. And I mean, that makes sense to me too, honestly. But again, I mean, it's
she's got way more experience. She's got way more experience with things that go boom than I do.
And the only counter I'd have to that is this thing had like 600 things shot at it in like a wide spray. And it wasn't just like one missile. That's my thought.
I mean, to me, like, I think it's kind of irrelevant whether it's realistic or not, because we don't really know.
Right.
But it's more, but I think it's just how it looks. But, you know, it took you out a little bit, but I think it's not like, it's reasonable, you know. Anyway.
It's no worse of a nitpick than I've ever had, so I can't complain.
No, you cannot, Glenn. You are not allowed.
I'm not going to complain about it at all.
Okay.
And mind you, this episode came out in, let's see, what year here? 2018.
18?
Yep.
18? Okay.
Wow.
And to make you feel old, how many years ago was that?
5, yeah.
I was going to say 5, but no, it's 6. Okay. Yeah, that sucks. All right. Anyway.
Yeah, call it 5.5.
Yeah. Okay.
6 isn't that long. 6 years isn't that long.
Yeah. In CG terms. That's how fast it takes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah. But I think it's more budget than anything. Like, you know, like you said. Anyway, should we talk about do we have anything else or next one?
If anyone had nothing else, we can go on to next.
No.
Okay. Best or worst actor?
Mm-hmm.
I'll go last on this one.
I mean,
I think everyone's going to disagree with me.
Obviously, we know it's Mr. Nappy guy.
Okay, never mind. Maybe not.
Yeah.
He's my number 3, okay? I gave it to him for number 3 just because I liked his death scene.
Oh, okay.
So, seriously, he's my number 3. That's why he's got that picture.
You like the fact that he died, so it bumped him up a little bit.
He's napping, Jen.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He's just taking a nap.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you gave him number 3 for that, I hope Kotiar is higher on your list because he's the more important one in that scene.
Do you see him in a body bag anywhere?
No.
He's not dead. He's napping. TV rule number 1.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
My
Glenn, do your others. Yeah.
My number 2, I went with Francois Chow as Jules Pierre Mao.
Yeah.
He was really good this episode.
Really
you could almost believe he had a soul and a conscience.
No, yeah.
Almost believe, but it is still Jules Pierre Mao. Jules Pierre Mao. I'll take the word on the guy with a French first name. I know how to pronounce Jules Pierre. So Francois is pretty French sounding to me. But yeah. Everybody else says Jules Pierre, except for like a couple of people. Avasarala always says Jules Pierre.
Yeah.
And then my number 1 would be Yao Fei from Arrow as Byron Mann as Augustus Wen. And I picked the creepiest smile.
That's creepy.
He was good in this episode, though. I think he was really good. I hate the character so much, and it's because of not just the writing; it's because his performance of it too. He's just this annoying little popinjay that I just wanted to. He takes the hippie out of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
But
so should we go around to Max if Jen is going to go last?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always going to be Amos. I mean, come on.
Well, look who's sitting over your shoulder. No, it was a good episode for West Chatham. Yeah. He's always good. He's always good.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about you, Becca?
I had your number 2 as my number 1, Francois Chow, because to me, like, he's just bringing so much depth to a character that, like, I mean, up until now, like, you know, he's a pretty despicable character, right? He's just, totally despicable person. But he just does little, like, micro expressions, the actor. And it's a lot in one episode to sell. Yes, we're going to experiment on these kids with the protomolecule. To no, we're going to stop that. Like, he has to move his character from making that decision in opposite, like over the course of the episode, and sell that with these, like, you know, and the intervening interactions that he's having with May and so on. So I think he does a really excellent job, and I'll talk more about this with the theme, but making a case that in some ways Jules Pierre Mao could be a better person than the Secretary General, because one of them,
Sorrento Gillis?
Yes, because one of them in this episode is giving into this call to, oh, you got to do this thing for greatness, right? Like, one of them is, like, you know, giving in to that kind of pressure. And it's not Jules Pierre Mao. I'm just saying, Sorrento Gillis was horrible in this episode. And, you know, I'm not saying Jules Pierre Mao is a good guy. What I'm saying is the actor has depth. Like, so he's just giving, like, little, like, layers of nuance that I appreciate. That's all. But Sorrento Gillis sucks also.
Yes. Jonathan Whitaker annoys me in that role too.
Well,
I
it's
don't
fine.
know why. It just.
I mean, he's allowed to be annoying because the character really sucks. I'm just saying, like in this episode in particular, he's like he totally gives in to this pressure, and you get a very similar scene with Jules Pierre Mao where Strickland is like, "This is our, we've got to do this," and blah blah blah, and he's just like, "Nope, shut it down." I mean, he has a moment where he like momentarily does the right thing after doing horrible things forever.
Right.
But the contrast was there between, I guess, more so how much the Secretary General sucks. If Jules Pierre Mao is like resisting a temptation that he can't resist, so that's all.
Well, and I kind of need to agree with you on Jules Pierre Mao as being my favorite this episode. But I do really like, and I had his name written down. I can't see it. Courtyard.
Yeah.
I think
Nick Carabay.
Nick Carabay. Okay. And
Carabay, yep.
The way, I mean, he has several things. I mean, he's so apologetic while he's murdering somebody. I mean, that's tough to do. That's just tough to do. And then his attitude that he's portraying while he's laying in sick bay, chained to a chair. All the little things he does there are wonderful. He can almost determine Souther. Well, he already knew of Souther or knew him from the past, but the way he's able to kind of gauge what's going on, and you get a feel that he's on top of it. I think the actor portrays that so well. They wrote it for him well, and I just really like the way he's taking care of that character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've brought up Cody.
He's good.
I've brought up Nick Carabay a few times as Codier because he is pretty good in the role. Mm-hmm. I enjoy him a lot. It's a good actor.
The actor that I hated, and it's the same as last week, the young lady that plays May.
Yeah. I thought of you watching this episode, Mitch, because I was like, I know you're not gonna like this. Every time she came on, I'm like, oh no.
I mean, I don't like to be hard on child actors because it is what it is. But right. I mean, it's hard to get like a really skilled child actor. It just is. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and she just doesn't. She just doesn't do it for me. And there are future episodes where I think whoever was directing it should be shot. They just did her wrong altogether, and I lay that at the director's feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably some directors don't necessarily work well with children or don't like to work with children. I'm guessing.
That could be.
It's got to be its own skill, I think. Well, I'm just gonna worship the kitty for a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, what's your cat's name again?
Kitty.
No,
she's so sweet.
How many cats do you have?
2.
2? Okay.
Mine will not let me do that to her, even though I try. I try. That's so sweet. Anyway,
I want to hear your controversy, Jen.
Okay. So I absolutely did not. So do you want me to do the character I like the most? The controversy is the one I hate the most. Do you want me to do the one I like the most? So
your choice.
The person I like the most isn't controversial is Naomi because she's made kind of a turnaround talking with Avasarala this episode. That whole scene, I was like, because I'm like, who the hell is this Naomi from like, I don't know. She's turned full belter, but I guess she always was full belter. But like, I thought she was more like in it to win it for the greater good. But no, she made a couple of really silly mistakes. But she really, it shows that her head's still in the game in this episode because she's reading Avasarala, I think just as a person, not even as a belter. Obviously, the belter is 100% still there, but she's picking up the vibes from everybody. The way that she handled herself when Avasarala was on deck, the way she's handled herself around Bobby, the way that she's doing better. She's making an attempt to be a better person right now, and you can see it. I think
Naomi should generally be the smartest person in the room. Like as a character, she is usually the smartest person in the room.
She's reading people very well, and I'm
gonna low bar to set. generally.
Yeah.
Holden in the room.
Agreed.
Well, you have Avisaurals in the room now. So
Oh, true. I forgot about that.
Avisaurals in the room. I mean,
I forgot about her.
She would be the strongest. It'd be the two. It would be between the two of them for smartest person in the room. But I think it's usually Naomi.
And
I forgot about her.
Only one other picture that had uploaded, so most of you already know who's going to be the person I hate the most. I don't buy Jules Pierre Mal for a second. I hated it. I hated everything. This is the worst arc to me. No. All of a sudden he's gonna have. Please let.
What do you? I guess. What do you mean? Like you don't buy? Like what part of is?
I didn't buy that. Within he saw a little girl running around for a couple seconds and was like, "Stop everything! Stop it! We gotta be nice now. Look at this little girl."
I mean, to be fair, without like spoiling anything, like this is not him having a redemption arc. Jules Pierre Mal does not get a redemption arc.
I'm following it from
he's not a good guy.
He's within the matter of one episode, though. He's telling him Strickland to shut it down.
No, I mean it's a big change. It is. I think it's just really just showing like that he's having like a moment of humanity or conscience, like that he's not like a complete like zero empathy robot like some of the other villains we've seen. I think that's really it. Like he's still a bad guy.
I don't think he was a robot.
There's no redemption. There's no redemption.
Okay, if I can like finish my thought. In the first episode, or excuse me, I apologize. The first season, you have him placing flowers on his daughter's grave. So they're showing that he's not a robot. They're saying, I really love and respect my daughter, and I'm not going to let her sacrifice be for nothing because I care, because I'm not a robot. So don't talk to me. And that's when he was talking to Ehrenreich at her like tree, saying he remembered how she climbed it. He goes, I sacrificed, and my sacrifice actually means something. So I can't go back on this, because to do that would mean I wasted my daughter's life for no reason. And now he just sees this little girl running around. He goes, now I'm actually making my my daughter's sacrifice. You know what? Screw it. Turn everything off. I'm going to be a good person. I'm like, I think the actor did a great job. Now, you guys said his name earlier. I'm so sorry. I forgot the
Francois Chow.
Thank you. Francois. Oh, he's French too then. He's maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so
French speaker, I believe.
He did a wonderful job. I think the direction they gave him was fantastic. However, maybe they needed more episodes to show the arc of, because he really moved me with that speech with Ehrenreich saying, because it made me think he wasn't a robot. I was like, okay, I disagree with you so freaking hard into the paint. I can't disagree with you more. However, like you're making it worth something. And once somebody's reached that point of like offing their own child, and then like letting the rest of their family live like cut off, like, because all of his family on Earth is screwed, and he's been okay with that. And I was talking with Chris about this before, and he goes, well, you know, it's one thing to like live in your like vaulted castle of I'm right and everyone else is wrong, and then actually seeing it affect, and that would affect you. And I'm like, yes, it would, but maybe to start the downhill thought of regret, not stopping everything within 1 hour episode. like maybe he doesn't go
right.
I was like, oh my god, so everything is just trash now. Okay.
You're vacationing in Brazil, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's it. I'll end there, because I know no one agrees with me, but it just really otherwise, like I said, overwhelmingly I love this episode. I didn't like that part, because I'm rewatching the episodes first. I'm watching episodes first and reading the book. So I was like,
how do you do that?
Because sometimes there's no matchup. I'd finish the book if I were you, and then watch the rest of the season. It'll make it easier.
Next week is Speed Week. I'm gonna have to read through the rest of because I know that we're getting into Abaddon's Gate, I think, like very quickly.
In a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'm having to speed through it, but I was like, oh no. Anyway. So yeah, I'll be quiet. I don't know what you're saying.
No, don't be quiet, for goodness
sakes. I think it's a fair point you said about like because I commented on that too. I think the actor did a good job, but there is a very quick like in this episode again, let's do it, let's not do it. He has to move. It's so maybe it's a scripting issue even of of anything, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, he's a bobblehead like somebody else we know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I don't think he's dumb. Like, I think, if that's what you mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't think he's like
intelligent. The last thing he hears is what convinces him to do what he should do next.
Gillis. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Gillis. Yes. I agree with that.
Recency bias.
And we see a little bit of that from Mal in this episode too. So there is an interesting bit of relationship between those two.
Well, I thought so
I was thinking about that earlier.
But again, like when Strickland made that last pitch to him, he doesn't listen to Strickland that time. Like that, right. Then he like resists what Strickland's saying. So that's a contrast to Gillis, who, as you said, exactly, it's whatever.
Bobblehead also didn't, because when he said no, let's not fire 82% or whatever the percent chance was good, he said no, that's not good enough. Literally, the person he had arguing with him last was Aaron Wright, saying, "Hey, it's time to launch this. All you have to do is say go." Mm-hmm. So, recency bias isn't as strong with Toronto Gillis, I don't think, is
there was a scene with Anna. But doesn't the scene with Anna happen in between him, like?
Yes, but then he saw Anna. And then he's in the war room, and then he's got the most recent person talking to him before he decides to go against him. So you can't say recency bias always works. Oh, it's the guy who was talking to him. Aaron Wright was the one who was saying, it's time to fire. No, let's not. It's not good enough. He didn't have Anna there telling him not to.
No,
so the recency is Aaron Wright, not Anna.
I see what you're saying, but at that moment, like Aaron Wright isn't really making his case. Like he already made it earlier.
Okay.
And like he's just being like, okay, it's go time. Like he's not like arguing at that point. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I took it as like.
I see.
The last like persuasive argument that he got was from Anna, and then he's like, okay, I'm not doing it. And then, then he hears again from Aaron Wright. And then when Aaron Wright's making a case again, he's making an argument again, and then he changes it. So that's how I see it.
Well, and Anna does say to him, and I think it had a lot of strength here, is that you want it to be holy, but it is not. So I think that, that may have stuck with him as far as his thinking goes.
Maybe. So what are we up to next, Max? You're muted.
Sorry. Themes.
I go last on this one. We'll start with you, Max. If you're not coughing.
Sorry.
There you go. Gesundheit, cough, whatever. Bless you.
Drama?
Drama? Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Max, I'm right there with you. I'm going to pick themes out of something like others may do. So,
all right.
I'm right there with you.
I have two I can talk about. I think that there's a theme of characters that are trying to get to a common ground through like big differences. Like they have big differences in opinion or objective, but there is some common ground somewhere in the midst of all that, and they're sort of trying to get to it. So I think we see that in like a little small sense with the Naomi and Alex scene, where he's like kind of like saying like, yeah, I really disagree with you. Like you really like messed up sending the stuff to Fred Johnson. But here's where I do understand. Here's where I do relate to you. And so you see that in like that small form. And then I think you see it like shortly following that, the scene where Avasarala is making the case to the Rossi crew. Like, I like that scene because she's really kind of trying to get to the heart of it, which is that really everyone on that ship has certain really important common objectives, but it's hard to see through all of the differences of like what they each think is most important and which approach they each would take to get there. So trying to get to that big picture, the common ground. There's a lot of other like little examples, but I won't take up too much time. Those were kind of like the big ones for me that particularly exemplified that theme. And then the other theme that I had taken note of was this question of, are there justifiable casualties, and when could you consider casualties justifiable or not? And like certainly the scene where Anna's really like laying this out to the Secretary General, and like she has a very clear moral stance that she has, and lots of the other people around her, it's fluid if there is one at all, right? They don't necessarily have any kind of like theory or moral stance on that. But certainly when you follow it up with the scene where, you know, Gillis decides to, you know, attack, all these ships are getting taken out and they're all feeling real great about it. And then, you know, nuke drops in the Amazon and they're, you know, he's not feeling so great all of a sudden. And it's just, it's really highlighting that, like, you know, in his mind, he had found a way to justify all those other casualties. But all of a sudden now there's a bunch that he's having a real hard time justifying all of a sudden. So it's just, where it's raising that. And then I think also it comes in to the Strickland, Mao, you know, May and the children, you know, that again, Mao at least has a moment where, at least for a moment, he's saying, you know what, actually, I can't justify these children as justifiable casualties anymore. And who knows, you know, where we go from there. But though that was definitely again, I think that's why we had that the bomb drop, because it kind of highlights the starkness of like, oh yeah, we're totally fine with these ships blowing up with all these people on it, and then oh, but we're not fine with that. You know, it was all fine until it's our own, you know, people.
Until civilians.
Yeah.
Jen?
Yeah, it's always fine until it hits home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebecca makes a really good point. Like I see it from that angle for sure. Absolutely. Like you have these things that you could justify in your mind, and then when you actually have to deal with the repercussions and like the moral, you know, I'm trying the word for like the repercussions, the consequences of thine own actions. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yes, definitely.
I agree. I see that as a
and it was like chilling when like what's his face? Aaron Wright is kind of like when you kind of realize that no, he's actually not that bothered like by the bomb that dropped on Earth. Like, you know what I mean? Like you think maybe because his face kind of falls, you think, okay, maybe he's having a human moment of regret too, like Gillis is. And then you see later, it's like, no, he was fine with it actually. So yeah.
He was faking it.
It's chilling.
Yeah.
And his interaction with Anna.
Yes.
That.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Me out. I was like, dude, this dude is like
psychopath.
Next level. Yeah.
And Sean Doyle is so good in the role too.
Oh, God.
He is just. Any others, Jen?
The greater. I think that's what we already talked about. Like, you know, and maybe it's slightly off of it. Just the greater good. What is the greater good in everyone's version of what that means? I guess that's
it. Yeah, I kind of go. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
The ones that nobody mentioned that stuck out to me, because I saw the others, but to some extent or another. But for me, I saw a lot of the question of who do you trust, you know, because there's a lot of people trusting others in this episode, but there's also a lot of people deceiving, you know, at all sorts of levels. I mean, everybody in the picture behind me was deceiving somebody at one point or another. People on the Rossi were deceiving. You know, Aaron Wright, constant deception. Even Stronto Gillis was being deceiving. But then you've got people who are just trusting, whether blindly or not. Like May, kids are going to be more trusting than adults usually. they're not going to pick up on the cues of why not to trust somebody. Anna seems a bit too trusting, but I think that's skeptical trusting. She want more like, I want to trust him. Maybe I can trust him, but I don't know. It's questionable there, but a lot of deception. But the other one that's really stuck out to me is family. And that really goes back in a lot of ways to that scene, my scene of the episode, my favorite scene with Naomi and Alex. Because a lot of that episode was about family. But even Jules Pierre Mao, his storyline with May is about family, because he's seeing his daughters in May, especially his dead daughter in May, so yeah, those are the ones that I couldn't avoid, but those just stood out to me a lot, and those themes tend to run throughout most of this season in this book, really, to be honest, in my opinion.
I think it applies to the entire series.
Yeah.
Really, it's all deception. And then, you have the big deceptions, like what is the protomolecule in the first place? I mean,
right?
Goodness sakes.
Don't tell. Jen's going to learn soon enough. So.
Yeah, Jen, that's a promise, not a threat.
Yeah, that's a promise. Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to bring up tonight? Any moments, great moments of dialogue or anything that stood out to you?
Just that I can't wait to see him next episode.
Oh, this poor guy.
I probably agree that he's probably actually my worst actor because, I don't know. He did really good making me think he was annoying. I don't know.
The character is annoying as piss.
So probably he's good, maybe. I don't know.
We're all forgetting about the guy they stuffed in a locker.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of quotes if you want to talk about them briefly.
Let's see what you got.
As I said, Souther kind of stood out to me this episode. And early on, when they're on the lift, he says, even in low G, shit still rolls downhill.
Downhill, yep.
That was well said. It's almost like he's describing what's coming up. And I don't know if they meant that, but and it took me a few rewatches to finally think, I wonder if that's actually a hint as to what is coming. So I'm just tossing that one out there.
This series does have a lot of foreshadowing, even for the end of the series, all the way back in book 2. I picked up on some, and I was like, I never noticed that. Wouldn't have picked up on it if I hadn't read everything. So, which I did last year. So, any other quotes?
Oh,
my favorite quote was the lines of dialogue that we had in the picture with Sorala and Amos. How do you know what it's like wearing pumps or to walk in pumps? And he just the great response. I didn't know he was working space. I'm just like, yeah, that's great.
Well, and another great response that he had, which we did cover earlier, was the question to him, how did you get out of Baltimore? I died.
Yeah. I died,
I brought that one up. Yeah. Okay. That's.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, of course, the classic one right at the end with Avasarala saying, you're right. We're not going to be friends.
Right.
I like that.
That was brilliant.
Well, thank you, Mitch, for joining us again. Thank you, Rebecca, for coming back and hanging out with us and talking one of our favorite shows. It's always a blast. Thank you guys at home for watching. Please come back next week as we discuss episode 4. I don't know the episode title off the top of my head. If Mitch or Max has it, no, we don't have it. It'll be in the doobly-doo, or you'll know.
Wait. I do have it.
Oh, Mitch has it.
It's Reload.
Reload. Thank you, Mitch.
Reload.
Thank you. So next time I'll remember the episode title. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like, a subscribe, and some comments. And hey, don't forget to be awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.